Hey y'all, we are live.
Hey guys, how are
What's
y'all?
happening, AJ?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Ah, girl, I'm hanging in there. I'm still recovering from my mom's 70th birthday party last night. So,
Congratulations.
oh my
Oh, I'm
gosh,
so
thank you.
happy.
It
hmm
was fun. It was a lot of fun. Hence, I don't have my voice. I thought I was doing a good job trying to kind of pace myself with the
hmm
excitement, and not being so loud and everything. But I don't
Mm.
think I did too great of a job because today my voice was really raspy
Well,
today.
it's not bad. It's
Not
not bad.
terrible.
No, it's not
Cool.
terrible.
I
You're
sure
good.
struggled in worship. Thank God my worship is for real. I wouldn't, you know.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So happy to hear about that.
Still got that note out, AJ. Still got it out a little bit today, and it didn't stop the show. The enemy tries to make it stop the show for sure. So, hey, everybody. I'm glad everybody's joining in. I see a few people coming in, all my sisters and my brothers and all that. And me and AJ are here holding down the fort. Shout out to Minister Kaylee. I know that she is out on sabbatical right now. We love you, my sister, from the podcast, and we'll see her in a few more weeks. And shout out to our sister TP. She is at home recovering. And so we are so excited to just be able to represent for y'all. We about to have a fun time,
hmm
and like me and AJ always say, we can kind of think Mr. Kaylee's like, come on, she keeps us on task. So in the spirit of Minister Kaylee, we will be on task, right, AJ?
Yes, on that all the way.
So y'all hang tight with us. We're going to be talking about single parenting tonight. We're going to ask, well, I said tonight, but this evening, we're going to ask you all to please kind of chime in and put your comments in the comment box for us. Um, you know, and then share it with anyone that you think it might be helpful for. I don't know. But we'd love for you to share it, like and share and support. Also, I want to shout out to all the women owned businesses out there. If you would please put the name of your business in the chat box for us. I think I can see this. Yes. Okay. So please, women owned businesses, please in the chat box, put the name of your business in the chat box for us, please. The name of your business, maybe your name and your website. We'd love to support you and also get your information out. We do have a retreat coming up, right, AJ?
Yes, we do.
3-day retreat. It's going to be coming up pretty soon here in November. We're a little bit behind on getting the information out, but I will tell you that the lowest package is about $2,200 for those 3 days. However, you're getting a whole bunch for those 3 days, and we guarantee total transformation for you. And we definitely want to patronize our women businesses. Your information will be spotlighted during that retreat
hmm
in some form or fashion, and to make sure that the word gets out about your business. So please put your women-owned businesses. Please put your businesses names. Like I said, particularly what it is, because sometimes the names aren't representative of what you do, and we don't really know. So what you do, what product or service you provide, and your website or phone number. How can we get in contact with you about your business? Right, AJ?
That's right. That's right. Very important. So you guys go ahead, load us up. We want to know who you guys are.
Yes, we want to know who you are.
hmm
So, AJ, we got to talk about this single parenting. Um, yeah. So, I'm going to do a quick intro because I put some notes down. I was telling AJ that earlier, and I don't want to miss these notes. I want to give it to you in the purest of senses, ladies and gentlemen, because single parenting is prevalent with men and women. It's just real. I mean, today, single parent families have become more common than our so-called nuclear family is what they call them. And nuclear family is considered, mom, dad, children. Today, we see all sorts of single parent families, headed by mothers, headed by fathers, and even by grandparents. I mean, now I know there was a certain time when I was a kid that I saw a lot of my friends being raised by grandparents. And at certain parts of my life, I was raised by my grandparent. Grandparents. Okay. But let me just say, life in a single parent household. Though it's common, it can be quite stressful. We know that. I'm a single parent right now myself. And it's a lot of times it's more stressful for the adult. And, you know, we don't want to leave out our children. It's more stressful for them too. The single parent may feel overwhelmed by those responsibilities because they're juggling caring for the children. They're juggling maintaining a job, keeping up with the bills, you know, the household chores, you know, making sure they keep a pulse on the children. And typically the family's finances and resources typically are drastically reduced following a parent's breakup. Okay. Even though there's some child support that might be into play for many, many families, it's still not quite enough to be able to have the same caliber of living that you may have had as a two-parent household. Single parent families deal with many other pressures and potential problem areas that other families may not face when you have a two-parent household. And those stressors that are faced by single parent families could be visitation and custody problems. You know, those happen out there. And the effects of continuing conflict between the parents. I've been there and I've done that. Okay, I see you nodding. I've been there and I've done that, you know, and those are stressors. You know, less opportunity for parents and children to spend time together. A lot of times it's like it's a second, third, fourth, fifth, you know, non-priority. It's like way down on our list. And so those are stressors. Okay. When you're having less opportunity as a parent, because now you are in charge of everything. You don't have anyone to kind of support or help you in some facets of that parenting. And then the effects of the breakup on the children. You know, I didn't even realize how much it pressed on my children when my husband and I separated. Okay. The effects of that breakup on the children, it affects their school performance. It affects their peer relations. And we think those children, you know, they're resilient and they got it. And a lot of times they just don't have it. They don't have it and they need that extra support. And so those can be stressors as well. And then let us not forget, AJ, I know you and I talked about this, disruptions of extended family relationships. It happens. Your ex-in-laws, you know, the neighbor, we were just talking about, the nosy neighbor, all that. Those are stressors too, you know, and let's not forget problems that are caused by parents dating and entering into new relationships. Single parenting has so many different things that are going on, so many different opportunities that are going on. And then single parents can help, a single parent can help family members face these difficulties by talking with each other. You know, if we talk to that single parent and help support that single parent, not just passing judgment, because a lot of times we pass judgment about the single parent when we're not really walking in their shoes, but we can help that single parent. Other family members can, by just talking with each other about our feelings, working with each other to tackle problems. That right there is probably one of the single most important things, because there's a lot more of them than they are of us single parents out there that though they can help us, other family members. And so I want to tell you that there also should be support from not only other family members, right, AJ, but friends. Okay. Yeah. And places of worship. Yeah. I put church in there. I'm an evangelist, you know, and one of many things I love about Senior Pastor Rico Miller at Boat Rock Community Baptist Church is that he is always making sure that we implement sustainable programs that are going to help meet people where they are. And it might be single parenting, it might be marriage opportunities, it might be addiction opportunities that are out there, you know, that addiction struggles, let me say that, and marriage struggles that might be out there, single parenting struggles. Okay. So your church, your place of worship can help you too, or should have a program that can help you too. But let me close it by saying, but if family members are still overwhelmed and having problems, just know this, that it might be an opportunity for you to consult with an expert. Don't forget your spiritual counselors. Many pastors are in a position and been gifted by God as a spiritual counselor for you, and or a licensed professional. I know we talk to AJ about this all the time. AJ, I know. And there's some key points to positive parenting we're going to talk about in a second, but we really wanted to just kind of chat with you all about this. You know, kind of what are your struggles as a single parent? And before we dive into getting comments from, because I get comments on the text messaging as well, but online, what are your thoughts about what I've said so far, AJ? I know some things are kind of saw you nodding and
I gotta say, like, it's very, very, um, there are a lot of aspects to being a single parent, as you know, and there are probably some more that you didn't even get a chance to touch.
Mhm.
And it is becoming more and more prevalent, which, you know, it it makes me think that there are other things going on. Um,
Mm,
Society is changing. People are getting more freedoms that they didn't have before. So it kind
mhm.
of changes the game with every generation, especially the ones that are coming up now.
Yeah. A
Mm,
lot of people choose to be in single parent situations. It's not that they divorced. They just chose to be a single parent.
yeah.
Um, and so sometimes they raise their hand and say, listen, I'm not going to have those struggles because either I can afford it or either I have a very strong family support system, you
Mm-hmm.
know. Um, and I do want to talk about positive single parenting too. So single parenting is not always a bad thing. I mean, a lot of people look at it as a bad thing. You hear that a lot, but it's not bad all the time. You know, it's not always a struggle.
Mm,
Okay. But we can't ignore that there can be some struggling times during single parenting. And I'll say for myself, I'm a single parent now. My youngest is now turned 18. But I have to say that I have been very blessed in that my ex-husband has been very, very supportive. Okay. Has he been perfect? No, nobody is, right? Have I been perfect? No, nobody is. At the end of the day, though, if I needed him to show up at the basketball game or to go to the school and take care of this or to take her to the hospital because God forbid something happened, he was there. And even in all of those different situations, AJ, I noticed that I was always somewhere where there were other single parents that didn't quite have that support system.
mm-hmm. I think, you already spoke about it, but the most important thing when, you are a single parent is support. Um,
Mm-hmm.
because you need everybody needs something at some point in time. It may not be today or tomorrow or whatever, but life happens. Things get cars break down. Like
Mm-hmm.
people lose jobs. Like
Right.
life is that unpredictable that, having a good support system is very important.
It
Whether
is.
from, you know, um the male or the female in that single parent relationship, like having an external support is it's just important.
It
It's
is so important.
mm-hmm.
External support system. I think you just hit the nail on the head with that. I really don't like this. And this is just one of those facts out there um, to where our family does not support one another. It doesn't have to be that it should not have to be that I have to ask you to support me as a single parent. Because I've heard people say this before. Didn't nobody tell you to have them children? Or didn't nobody tell you to divorce that man or divorce that woman? Or separate. And so, what about the children?
Mm-hmm.
What about the children? We still should support one another. And it's almost like we were talking about with supporting each other's businesses last week.
Mm-hmm.
You think about if one person in the family would help you if you're struggling, okay? One person would say, you know what? Why don't I'll an aunt or an uncle or a cousin says, you know what? I don't mind keeping your daughter or your son today. Why don't you go take a break?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I think that yeah, even though single parenting is becoming more and more popular,
Mm-hmm.
it's just one of those things that people have to keep in mind that if that's the route you're going to go for, there are some troubles ahead.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people don't like to think that, but
Yeah.
it's always easier with more than one person.
Yeah.
So two minds, two
And
eyes,
that's biblical.
pairs of
That
eyes.
is
Yeah.
biblical too.
It's just, it takes a lot to raise a child, and it goes to trust as well, because
Wow.
you trust within your family, but then if it so happens that you happen to get pregnant by somebody outside of that family, of course,
Yeah.
what would that trust be like? We have trouble with trust. We spoke about it months ago, I think it was, with
Mhm.
um kids being able to play with other kids in the neighborhoods, and people being
Yeah.
able to congregate, and kids being able to be friends, and
Yeah.
us trusting each other. So
Yeah.
I think single parenting is one of those things that it, it it puts stress on that.
Yeah. On the
It
trust
it
factor.
puts a lot of trust on the a lot of
Wow.
stress on the trust factor, because it's just you on that one child, or how
Right.
it is, rather than you having more support, more immediate support,
Yeah.
there with you in the home, in the apartment, or wherever you are, you
Are
know
you saying like you might not want they may not want to allow their child to be with a family member or be with the like I said earlier, the nosy neighbor or the
yeah,
or another. I get what you're saying.
it,
Wow.
it's like an added stress, but it's like it's an
Yeah.
indirect effect
Because
of,
you're knowing it's going to weigh on you now and not both parents. It's just one parent.
yeah,
Wow, I never thought about that either. Well, actually, I guess I did because I was very protective of my kids when they were younger and young people.
because you
I
knew that
always wanted the sleepovers to be at my house. Ain't that something? Like
yeah,
you can't go over there, but they come over
it's
here.
less stress for you. And
Yeah.
that's one of the things that happens with single parents. It's like it's
Mm.
an amount of stress, and it's like to alleviate some of that, it's like, okay, have you can have sleepovers, have them come here so you don't have to worry about them someplace else.
And that's a double-edged sword when you think about it, because now I got to have food for all of y'all. I'm already struggling. Okay, I got to watch everybody else child on top of my child. What was I thinking?
Mhm.
But you're right. I mean, it does add stress on top of stress that way. And then nowadays you still have to be careful because as a single parent or as even as a double home parenting situation with all of these pedophiles out here. So you really, I mean, that's a whole nother conversation, but you got to be careful, period. Because they're all in the neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? And then being a single parent, you're working a lot. You have to make sure the caregivers for after school care, before school care, extracurricular activities have been vetted. And you might not always have that second set of eyes that you would have had if you were in a two-parent home.
Yeah.
There's just so much, I do want to tap on this real quick too, AJ, though, because one thing that I also learned that was a big struggle for me as a full-time working parent, okay, is I wasn't home a lot. I remember when my children were very young, I was traveling sometimes 3, almost 4 weeks out of a month, right? And there's 4 weeks in a month. And my mom had to help raise, my children for me.
Mhm.
And my husband, at the time, he was a truck driver.
Mm.
So we were both kind of
Yeah.
doing this. And then when we divorced, obviously, well, no, that was when Kayla was very young. When Adeyinka was very young, I was single parenting. So my mom had to watch her a lot. Then when I got married, of course, it was two of us. And then when we separated, it was just one of me. And I was still traveling a lot. One thing I wanted to tap on with that is, it's so important to have that one-on-one time with your children.
Mhm.
They should not see our stress, and they should see that we're human, but we shouldn't put our stress on our children because they're already going through a really tough time if they had two parents and now it's just one.
Mhm.
And we don't think about that. We really don't, because I know I didn't. And I would come home sometimes and I'd have to catch myself, where I'd stay in the car for a while before I came in the house. I still do that, so I can just kind of throw all that stuff out before I come in the house,
Yeah.
because I don't want my kids to see all the stress of me making ends meet, doing all these different things I was doing back then to try to, keep them with the same level of lifestyle they had before I separated.
Yeah. Yep. And you definitely hit a key point, in my opinion, of you saying that you had to like decompress before you went into the
Mm-hmm.
it is okay to show them that you're feeling certain things, because they're close
Yeah.
to you, they're one of the closest to you,
Mm-hmm.
so they should be able to see some of that, but they're still children.
They are still children, right? And they still have to experience. However, let me add this because it's part of the points that we wanted to talk about. It's so important as a single parent that you identify with those feelings, that you identify. So you're teaching your child at the same time how to have life skills. Because a lot of times when we're single parenting, we are, I mean, I can speak for me. I was zoned in on just working and making ends meet, making the bills pay. And then I had to remember all the things I'm coaching everybody else to do around me. I'm supposed to be doing that too. I need to be my own student with my children. You know, so I had to say, listen, I would take them to work with me. That's what I started doing. You know, I encourage that if you are able to bring your young people to the church or not church, excuse me, you should be going to church. Yeah, should be. I say that all the time. Kids get 18 and up, then they like, oh, I don't have to do anything anymore sometimes, but you know, they eventually come back. But you should take them to your workplace with you if you can. And teach them how to have conversations with other people and diverse and learn about what you do and learn about, you know, how hard, you know, or complicated or how detailed, whatever, however you want to call it, your job is, your career is. I think it's important that they have career days with you.
Yes. I think it is too, because they, as I said, they're closest to you, but you have to give them some information about your adult life.
Yes, you do. Some.
Not, you know, yeah. That whole, oh, my daughter is my friend or my son is my friend. It's just scary every time I hear it.
It scares me because when a young person thinks of what a friend really is, sometimes, and that goes to the next point that we had, having clear rules.
Yeah.
Clear rules and clear rules of engagement, right? Because a lot of times I'm from where I think we talked about this months ago, where a lot of my friends, when their parents are going, speak when spoken to, be sit down and be quiet, go in the other room. My mom, you know, the foundation she laid for me before different things happened really bad in our family life, the foundation she laid was, come on in here, let's talk about it. I want you to listen to this conversation and we'll talk about it later. So I was learning from conversations that she was having with other adults, right? And they were respectful of me being in the room. And it wasn't always be quiet. She wanted me to talk. Hence why I talk so much now. She wanted to build confidence in me. And I think that foundational stuff that she did when she was a single parent, okay? She's a single parent with me, really helped me. You know what I'm saying? While a lot of my friends are very introverted, they were scared to interact. When they went to the workforce, they were timid and passive. And I was that person that they were trying to tame, you know, and put a lid on me because I was just like, let's do this. Yay. You know, even despite all the things that I went through in my teenage life, you know, again, from rape and domestic violence, I know for a fact, thank you, God, that all those foundational things my mom did when she was a single parent with me really helped me be able to push through that stuff. You know what I'm saying? And stay focused. And I think that's important because if our young people are in a single parent home right now, a lot of times as a single parent, we're focused on everything else other than really the development and social development and emotional development of that, even the physical development of that child.
Yes.
We're not focused on it like we should be.
You know, it kind of makes me think about gender roles of the generations, you know, that are, I guess the baby boomer generation is a good example.
Okay.
Where the male would go to work and the wife would stay at home. But there were things that society was that way, or at least it was portrayed to be that way for a long time. And now, you know, people don't need each other the way they used to need each other to pull
or think they don't
together, or they think that they don't. And that is, it's okay for women to have more rights and opportunities and things like that. And it's okay for, you know, men to be able to share the platform, you know. At the same time, if you end up being a single parent, you have to remember both of those roles.
Exactly. You have to remember both of those roles. And you know what? A lot of times when someone says, you know, my The dad is the mom and the mom is the dad.
Yeah. I
I'm just speaking for me, yeah, because I hear what you're saying. A dad can perform, duties that a mom does as it relates to cooking, and some dads braid hair, and some dads, they go,
these are all
and,
societal things that people are trying to put on to
hmm
as what a husband is supposed to do and what
hmm
a wife is supposed to do, but it's literally a balancing act with everything. You know,
everything.
people have certain strengths that other people do not, so
Exactly.
kind of throws the traditional way of American thinking as to who does what with role playing. Throws it out.
Okay, I gotta throw in the hat though. Do I have a hat to throw in? No. Yeah, I got a hat. I didn't even realize I had a hat, but I have a hat. But here, wait, I don't. And maybe I don't know. I don't agree with someone saying my dad is my mom. And I don't agree with someone saying, and I know, I get what you're saying about it's societal. There's certain things in my DNA that make me different from a man. I mean, my makeup, the nurturing side of a woman, I know a man can nurture is totally different from your mama.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And a man can do things that your mama can't do. A dad can do things mama can't do. She can try all day. I just, and I don't want to say feminist. I've said that before, that I'm an eternal but there's I believe that there are things that my mother can do that my dad could not. They just were the way my dad nurtured me was totally different from the way my mom nurtured me, and I needed my mom's nurture in certain things. The way my dad protected me was totally different from my mom. Now there's some mud deals out there that can, they can, and they can, just like dad. It's still different. I saw my dad's muscle different. I saw my mom's gentleness differently. Her firm was different. So I'm just, and I totally could not be mom and dad for my children when I did not have a significant other in my life to help me raise my kids. I just didn't. There was something I just kept saying. There's something missing here. They need a man role model.
Mm.
That was me. Um, you know, a man teaching the son how to repair things. Now that doesn't mean I can't. That just means it just was different coming from a man teaching my son how to make something or how to repair something. I'm talking about me as a woman. If I saw a bug over there while I was making something, I'm not coming back. To help you make it. We'll do this tomorrow when it's sunny and hot, maybe the bugs will go. But a guy be like, they get rid of the bugs, move it out the way or whatever they're gonna do and to keep on going. So to me, and that's just a crazy example, but it's just to me, that's just super real.
It. I know that younger younger generations feel like, yeah, I can be a single person and have a child, and we're just going to be happy and we're just going to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that, throughout the years was like, oh, not really accepted, or et cetera, et cetera. But now that it's happening, people are trying to come up with ways in order to uh, either assimilate both roles, or
Yeah.
to find a role model of the opposite sex to step in, not even necessarily as a romantic partner, but just as somebody that they can trust.
I
Like,
like that.
there are people that get really uh, well acquainted with uh, if their child is doing sports. They'd be like, okay, that my child really has a great relationship with this coach. They're doing really good job. There's character building. There's moral
Yeah.
building. This is a good situation for my son or daughter. They're learning how to uh, work with other people. They're learning how to play effectively with other people.
Right.
And they have role models that come into the child's life that way.
Right. I love that. That's it. Why don't we solicit? We struggle by ourselves. Why don't we ask for a mentor? And let me just say this. We shouldn't have to always ask. If you are going, and I'm going to throw this out there again, we need more Boy Scout. I know, I'll tell you, my son went through Boy Scouts, and he became an Eagle Scout. Thank you, God. And I'll tell you, it was the best thing for him. He's such a cool kid. And I'm not saying that just because he's my kid, but listen, there were so many people that were imparting into his life and were helping him learn how to, you can have a pocket knife and not be thinking about stabbing somebody. You can be using it to fix something or to repair something or to, survive if you're out in the woods and you got to make something to do, it's like different things that they taught him and they would go to him. You get what I'm saying? He didn't have to go, hey, could you mentor me? There were so many men in the church that stood up and said, and they knew at certain points that I was a single parent. And they still knew I had support from my ex-husband, but they still would, be a mentor unsolicited. So I like what you said. It's great that we should ask as single parents, but I think most importantly, that if I have to throw it back out there on a call to action there's so many deacons out there. There's a whole bunch of, ministries out there within the church. I'm talking about the church.
Gotcha.
Because we're supposed to be out there making more disciples. How many single parent families right now, they don't even have an opportunity to go to church, or they've been hurt in church. They don't want to go back to the church. How are we reaching out to them to help them? Or are we just having boys and girls clubs that, is the YMCA and the boys girls clubs that still exist?
Yeah, they do.
I know they do. I'm just saying, are we going to go out and grab?
Yeah. Because
is everything about $1 these days? I don't know.
A lot is about $1 these days, but there are people who are willing to be those role models and mentors out there. But it is a challenge finding the appropriate one. But usually the child will establish a relationship with one that you'll be able to clearly see. And then, that's when you do your investigation of this person.
Wow. And sometimes it's a good idea to kind of ask the child, what are some of your interests? And if they say that they don't know, then we shouldn't just kind of sweep it under the carpet. Because we're developing adults for our future. They are young adults for our now, but we're really developing them to be functional adults in a society full of diverse people. So are we taking time to say, oh, you don't know what your interests are? Let's kind of talk about it. Let's maybe even just check online and see if there's some gift assessments out there or some interest assessments out there that we can take. Let's do it together. Yeah. It doesn't hurt as a single parent to just, even when you come from work, decompress and just the same way you put on your plan to cook dinner, put in your plan to have one-on-one time with your young one. They really need you.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you this before we close out and before I ask you another question. My 18-year-old told me, we were looking through some old pictures. That's when her dad was traveling a lot and I was traveling a lot and we were married, and it felt like a single parent, felt like a no parent household in a lot of regard. Let me just say that. But my 18-year-old told me, we were looking through pictures recently, that she said that was a really tough time in my life at one of those pictures. And in that picture, she had some really wild, kind of like I did when I was trying to be Cyndi Lauper in high school. She had this really wild hair style, and she had some streaks of blonde. I think we just were kind of playing around with her. I don't know if we thought we were Will Smith and Jada Smith and their family just doing crazy stuff with our children's hair. But we let her put a little couple of streaks in the front. And she seemed such a cool kid right there. But she told me she was struggling. And I think she was around the 5th grade in that picture. And that, the way she was in 5th grade, 4th and 5th grade is what really sparked me to start the butterfly program, AJ, because that age is like such a multiple age. And so many times as single parents, we ignore or we don't pay attention, or even as double family homes, parent homes, we really ignore what's happening during that age time. I was one of those people. There's a lot that I saw, but a lot that I didn't see.
I gotta tell you, I helped when I was in high school. When I was in high school,
Mm-hmm.
would mentor, not mentor. I was a helper for after school help homework, and
Okay.
I knew I would help middle schoolers. So middle schoolers tended to be a little bit more difficult, but I tended to really like the elementary school because once you're in elementary school, they tend to be a lot more accepting. You know,
Uh-huh.
they're
Uh-huh.
figuring out, who they are for real. And I find that that age is very, very moldable, very, very moldable.
It very, very,
And the
very.
longer you wait after elementary school is the harder it would be for them to be able to accept certain morals and values and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So,
You know what? So you worked with them often then, right? After school.
yeah. Hmm.
And it was the middle school age.
Yeah, it starts in middle school when they go from like 12, like 12, 13. That's
Okay.
things change. Elementary school to middle school is huge, huge for kids.
Girl, and ain't no pulling. It's I'm not gonna say ain't no. Ooh, Jesus help me, Lord. It's a very. I'm so serious. It's so hard to pull back at when our young people get to that 13, 14.
Yeah.
Just keeping. You're right. Once they get there,
Hmm.
and then we try to come back and we want to over discipline and take phones. It's a foundational thing. Even as a single parent, we still have a responsibility.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And it's great that we have people like you that were coaching our children. That's just support.
It's support.
The onus still is on us. Ultimately, it's on us. What is our prayer life like? You
Hmm.
know, are we bringing mentors in? Did any of those parents talk to you?
Yeah, I would always have conversations here and there depending on what the situation was. Sometimes they would check with me to see how they did during their session, like were they.
Reactively or proactively? So proact
It was both.
both.
It was both.
Okay, good.
Like if there was a situation where a child was not listening or they had a hard day or something like that, and if the parent actually came inside, I would let them know, and vice versa. Because some people, there are days where some parents are just really, really interested in what their kids are doing, and then there are some days when they're not because they
Right.
have so many things going on. You know what I
And
mean?
we don't think about that, but our young people do have so many things. You mean the parents have so many things, or the
Yeah,
young people? You said
the
the
parents.
parents. Yeah.
But it's true of the kids as well. They have a lot of things going on too. Um,
Right.
so being able to relay that information to the parent is always great because it's a heads up. Hey, they didn't have a very good day today. You may want to ask them what happened or go into really go into depth as to what's going on with them right now.
Right. And I'm writing that down. Conversations with our young people
Mm,
daily.
yeah,
I like the part about clear rules, of engagement,
yeah,
you know, and it's okay to have a nosy neighbor. We talked about that earlier. I actually love my nosy neighbor.
it's like, but do you trust your nosy neighbor?
So, I can't say that I would trust my nosy neighbor with my kids because I really don't know them to that extent, right? And you just never know. And I will tell you this, it has nothing to do with my neighbor, but other just in your neighborhood, period. There's about one in every five that are on the pedophile registry.
Mm-hmm.
So you could, if you've got 100 homes in your community, you might have 25 that are on that registry,
Mm-hmm.
on the sex offender registry. Okay. So and I was one of those parents that did check it out and see where they lived at when I was back in my home before I was in this one. I would check because there were hundreds on top of hundreds of homes in the Hidden Hills community. Is the old Hidden Hills golf community. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, hundreds. And I just wanted to know because my kids are walking forth to school, to their school bus and stuff. And, I wanted to know kind of where they were planted. And so I got to the point then after I did that, because if you don't know, sometimes you don't think
Yeah.
about it. But once you know better, you're supposed to do better. So I started taking my kids to school. They absolutely despised it. But look, I had to do something because at the end of the day, I was responsible. So I took us down a rabbit hole right there. But I cannot honestly say that I could trust my children with my neighbor. But I thank God that I have a nosy neighbor. Okay, because one thing that they will do, they will come let me know they saw something going on at my home. So I knew if I was out of town and my children were here by, my young people were here by themselves, that if a party was about to break out, my neighbors was like this. You know what I'm saying? Or something that was going on that was not of the norm.
The only thing that I would add is that just as much as people want to protect their children is just as much as you should want to push them to do something creative or whatever it is, because there can't be an imbalance of protection, because we all know what happens when it's too much.
Try to avoid an imbalance. Is that right?
Yeah, an imbalance of protection. Everybody wants to protect their child, great, but you're not going to make it having your kid in bubble wrap and sending them out into the world. They will have no friends.
That is very true. Oh my gosh. When I tell you, protect your child, but don't smother them. Is that the right word I'm looking for?
Yeah, say smother. I use bubble wrap.
Oh my gosh. I can imagine me being wrapped up in, you are so out of control. I love it. Smother them. I'm going to put bubble wrap them. I'm not putting that, because I can just see somebody who just going to take it all out of context and just be like, oh, she said bubble wrap my child. Oh my gosh. But try to avoid an imbalance of protection. Protect your child, but don't smother them. Okay, because that, I'm telling you, when I tell you, because of my childhood of I'm a survivor of sexual assault, I was so overly, I'm gonna tell you something, concerned. But here's the thing, there was a balance. So thanks for the confirmation, because even though I would want all the kids, excuse me, at my house, I ain't got no COVID. That's just a cough, okay? Even though I wanted all the kids at my house for the sleepovers and the birthday parties and all that, my young people were in sports. The youngest one was a basketball. The middle one, he was just a nerd. BJ's, he just wants to learn. He's like, I'm not gonna get in football because they're gonna injure me. But my Adeyinka, my oldest, she was in competitive cheerleading since she was 5. So there was, like you said, there was a balance there. Yeah. Okay, now that part was stressful, because I was all the while trying to keep them, under my, or my mom, who watched them a lot, and my dad. My dad actually practically raised Kennedy, my youngest. I still let them get into some sports. To your point, yeah. Wow. Wow. Good conversation. Good conversation. My prayer is that, that positive talk, I need to add that too, that you really, for the struggling single parents out there, talk with positive discussion with your children. I'm sorry, I'm trying to do all this same time, because Mr. Kayla is normally doing this. We're kind of bouncing off each other, and I'm like, and I know y'all can't see it, otherwise you'd be helping me too. Positive self-talk and positive discussion with our young people is a must.
Those role models are a must as well. Role models, mentors.
Role models and mentors.
It's basically making sure that your child has a full life. You want them to experience life. The people in it, the interactions, the games, the hurt feelings, and recover from that too. Like they need to have a full life, and it includes a lot of people in order for it to be full.
Right. It takes a village, like you said. I mean, you said that before, and that's, real talk. It does take a village. I mean,
yeah, being able to relax while your child is out playing would be wonderful.
That would be nice, you know. And it's funny you say that because we had some and I'm just going to throw this out there real quick before we close out because now we're going on 40 minutes.
Mm.
Um which we always do is I had a couple of kids in my neighborhood recently, very recent. Um in the brink of the night, and they didn't come to our home, by the way. Thank you God. There's covering over our home, but they were going from door to door in my neighbors uh, driveways and opening their doors of their
Mm.
cars, and if they left their cars open, they would take whatever they could take, right? And fortunately, um, they are going to have to pay for what they did. They have some very clear pictures of them um, on the cameras. Everybody in my neighborhood just about has cameras everywhere.
Mm.
You think this was mini Fort Knox or something, but everybody got the doorbell, the this camera, that camera everywhere. So if one house didn't get it, you better believe the other house got it, and they were 100 feet away. But so fortunately, those kids will have to be disciplined for taking someone else's belongings. But my question is that one of my neighbors said to me, you know, um, they probably only got a single parent, and I said, wait, stop. Oh, it's ironic that we were having this discussion today. That we had already planned. It's probably just single parent. They not watching their children. I said, that's not always the case, that it's a single parent home where the children are out, being mischievous and doing things that are just not of good morals and good character. It's not that they have a single parent family. I said they could have both parents in the family, and nobody's paying any attention to them. Nobody has a pulse on what they're doing. The disciplining that they are doing, it might not be appropriate for that child, because every child cannot be, disciplined physically. A lot of times it might be the discipline might have to be taking something away, restricting their extracurricular activities. It could be they need some coaching or counseling. All kinds of things could happen. So I was like, no. And I'm so glad I talked to her, because I was like, no, it doesn't have to be, I was a single parent for a while, and my kids weren't out, stealing stuff taking stuff that doesn't belong to them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So I do want to just kind of throw that out there to every parent, is to please take time for your children, for your young people, and know what they're doing. Because like AJ said earlier, is that we can kind of keep a pulse check on it at that 4th and 5th grade level. But too much farther out there, a pulse check as far as building a foundation of morals and character building exercises and things. Once they get to that 13, 14, 15,
it's going to be harder and harder and harder.
It'll be harder. Yeah. And then, I was talking to someone the other day, you've got young people building bombs in the basement, and you don't even know, because you're not paying attention to your children. And they need our attention. A lot of times they building them things that they need attention.
Yeah.
They want attention, So shout out to the parents that are, really being intentional about spending time with their young people and keeping their ears and eyes open. It is a struggle for 2-parent households and single parent households. It is a struggle, because we've got so many things going on trying to provide for our family. The struggle is real, but I always say the reward is greater.
Oh, yes. That's great.
The reward is greater. In real talk, you never want to hear someone say they're burying a child, or they're visiting a child in prison, or you never want to hear those things. And when you do hear them, it's just always kind of hits you in the gut, like, what happened?
Yeah, it's literally like you have to give this your best shot. Give your children all that you can, all the direction you can. Don't overprotect them. Have them have full lives. And then they have to go out into the world, and you just have to be confident that you did the best that you can. So no matter what happens, you'll always have a healthy relationship between y'all.
Yeah, I love that. Healthy relationship. AJ, I love you. You're super cool. Healthy relationships. Because that's, and you know what dictates a healthy relationship?
Yeah. I'd have to say that the way that you're feeling, the other person acknowledges the way that you feel, and you're able to have conversations about what you're thinking and feeling. And, of course, it ends positively. Not having it end negatively. A person's able to understand where you're coming from and why you think that way. You're able to
Yep.
communicate with them that you feel this way because this.
Wow. And this is what happens when you say this or do that.
Yep.
Wow. Love it. And I'm going to put that there. And then I'm going to put what is a healthy relationship? What is a healthy relationship? Or what does it look like? Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to close out this thing. Look like. I really pray that this has helped someone at least start the conversation. If you know someone who's a single parent, help them out.
Help them
Help them
out.
out.
Plant some seeds. It's not just them. There are lifelines out there. There are role models and mentors out there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I'd love to mentor your child. I mean, I raise my hand. Please go to www.impoweryourpower.com. I don't know if it's on here. I know Minister Kaylee has it on here somewhere, but I don't know how to find it. So let me just impoweryourpower.com. I think it's /butterfly leadership initiative. And leadership initiative, and we have workshops that are led by individuals like Minister Kaylee, AJTP, the people all around that give their time, an hour of their time, and it is on a Zoom call, and they go on and they talk about all those different uh, etiquette classes that you'll see once you, or etiquette workshops or seminars, whatever. They are all on the website. Okay. And all you got to do is just go check it out, sign up, Butterfly Leadership Initiative. Yeah. Initiative. I got my glasses on, still can't daggone see. Is that right? Boom. Okay. So it is there. If you just go check it out, you'll see it on there. And, mentoring available. People volunteer to be virtual mentors. They are vetted. Okay. We do a background check. So you ain't just got, some psycho mentoring your child. I'm just keeping it real. I mean, people want to hear it. That's real talk.
Yep.
Okay. Now, listen, well, at least we do our due diligence to make sure they're not psycho. And I think all organizations that care about young people do their due diligence and make sure that who's mentoring your child or volunteering online is what we have now. And it's all recorded when they're mentoring on our platform. Okay. So there we go. Any closing comments before we skedaddle?
We've
been having fun.
Just add, just be very patient. Patience is so hard. It's so hard, especially with people that you care about. Just when you're going through these things, working with your children, trying to give them full lives with other people and experiences and stuff like that, try to be patient, especially during their teenage years.
Oh, wow, that is so cool. Be patient with them during their teenage years. It's probably the hardest part of their life.
Mm-hmm.
All righty. We love y'all so much. I don't have any closing comments because I have talked a lot as usual. But thank you, Miss AJ. And we look forward to seeing you all next week. We've got some other fun stuff to talk about. Real. So join us next week, please. Even if you just get a snippet, I'm sure it's going to be something that's going to provoke thought, inspire you to be better, or just most importantly, be unapologetically you. All right. We'll see you later.
Bye,
y'all. Deuces.